Here we are at November 11th of 2021. We got the loop going, and you can see we have a little object right here come off the sun. We also had some kind of little halo uh, down below here too, so I'll let that run a couple of times. And that's current. That's today, November 11th, like I said, 2021. And then we'll pause it here and go through it frame by frame real quick. Okay, let's back up just a little bit. Okay, there's our first frame right there. Here's our object right here. We got our instrument already reacting to the CME that it's causing here. And as we go through, it keeps its nice round shape right here. As it moves on out, there's like the core of it right here, this little black dot in the middle. There's another good shot of it right there as it's heading out of frame. And then we skip a couple hours ahead. So there's missing frames. It ended at 7 there. Now it jumps to 10, and you can see we have a partial halo eruption here coming off the bottom part of the sun here. Okay, now let's take you back a day or two here, because back here on the 9th we had quite an eruption off the sun here. And give this a minute to load up, and we'll go through this one too. Boom, huge blast off of this side over here, just huge. Okay, so let this loop run for a minute here. We got this little activity first coming off over here. Nice and slow though, it's being held up again. I think this object is peeling away from this bigger one over here. We're seeing another one of these incidents where this big object coming by, the sun is acting like a wedge and peeling off one of these smaller objects away from the bigger one. So once we get through this, then we'll keep going just a little more. Okay, let's back up here a little bit to the opening frames of this one. So here we are. This is a couple of days ago at November 9th. And it picks up with this activity already in progress. You can see we have a huge round object right here, a smaller one right here. And of course this CME is bending, going up and curving and going around this. Bending, coming down, curving and going around it. You can make out the little object right here. There's a good little shot of it. Note the curvature of the backside here too. Okay, you can still make out the smaller object right there. Okay, then we have this incident going on over here. And it comes out slow. It's like being held up, being slowly emerging. Like the magnetic field of the sun is holding this thing up, slowing it down as it emerges, because it's ripping it apart from this bigger one that's just about right here. There we go. Here's the first frame as it starts to emerge. And then let's see if we can get part of the red side in here too, because you can see it on both this time. So we'll go as we go. Now note right here, this perfectly round circular object right here. It's also picking up here on this instrument. Of course, the instrument's reacting to this huge CME, and it appears there's a secondary object up here. Let's go to the next frame. There's a good shot right there of this round object right here. You can see it's all draped in this CME material, the plasma here. There's obviously some kind of other secondary object up here, oval shaped maybe. Then as we continue on, you can see those smaller objects are orbiting a bigger object that's right here. Look how this material comes out, takes a really hard turn, and goes up and over this bigger object back here in the background. Go to the next frame. Boom. And look down here how this stuff is reaching down, curving, and going around the bottom part. You can see it over here too. It's reaching down, curving, and going around a much bigger object that's right here. Looks like we have a smaller one, maybe right in that area, orbiting it as well. But meantime, the whole time, this little object over here on the side is emerging. This little round object right in here, and it's got its own little magnetic field around it. And plasma, CME material is draping over this object and going past it faster than it's moving out. So, but this little round object right here making like what looks like an eye almost. And I feel that this little object is just being pulled away from the bigger one here, and the bigger one snapped loose instead of the smaller one this time. Now let's put this back into motion and speed it up a little bit, because some of these doesn't do it just to speed it up. So let's even zoom in on this a little bit. Yeah, there's a good shot of this perfectly round object. It's got its magnetic field around it and it's being pulled away. Zoom back out now. So we had some pretty big activity yesterday, or day before yesterday, and it continued on a little bit into the 10th, but I just showed you the 11th. So let's go back even more now. So that was the 9th. Let's go back to the 7th here, because there was more activity on the 7th here. And howdy folks, good to see you showing up in the chat room. We're just kind of waiting for this one to finish loading up here. And it's this object over here on the side that we're going to be watching and studying on this one. So there it goes. Now it's all loaded up. I'll let the loop play real quick and then watch this object emerge. It's got a nice little core to it right there. Okay. Then something else I want you to note. Right before this object comes out, something comes in right here, bounces off, and then comes out. So it looks as if the object came in at an angle, turned, and then came out. We'll go zoom in on that so you guys can see that a little bit better. Oh, thank you, Tony. Okay, so this little object right here, I want you to watch previous to it coming out. Watch this object come in and then hit the magnetic field and bounce off and come out. Hopefully you guys can see that. Yeah. So that object appears to have come in at an angle or something and hit the outer corona of the sun, the magnetic field or whatever, and bounced off and got pushed away. It's also dragging material out with it as it goes. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of activity. Even these objects showing up and coming in. We've seen that maybe once or twice before, but you don't always see that. So there's a good example of it right there. Now, as we zoom out, let's go. I think the next day was the 5th we had activity. And we're just going through these days here. Yeah, there was a little one. Thank you for your patience, folks, as we wait for these things to download. I can't do a video now and just upload it onto YouTube anymore because I don't have enough memory storage left in my phone or my computer. So I just got to do little live streams now and turn them into videos. So apparently that wasn't the day. There's a little activity on that day, but we'll go to the 4th here. Just kind of go back through this last week that we missed, or that I missed. Okay, it's almost done being loaded. Just small activity on this day too. But you can see each day has some activity, either minor or something really big. Let's go to the third, I think it was. Bear with me. Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, there we go. Let this one load real quick. So it's been like every other day, sometimes 2 and 3 days in a row that we have these huge blasts and all this activity on the sun. These objects coming by, pulling material off with them. This one you can see as it comes off over here has a nice little round core. And stuff is actually swirling around it. So let's speed it up a little faster here. And then we'll even zoom in on it a little bit so you guys can see the swirling activity that goes around like this when this object comes out. Yeah. So all this activity is, is affecting the Earth too. Some of this, the plasma hits the Earth. We've had a few good strikes in the last couple of weeks just head on at the Earth, producing all sorts of auroras and stuff like that. So, but here's another example of one of these objects coming out. And that one seems to be rotating or tumbling or something, and stuff is swirling around it. Maybe we'll slow it down a little bit. And then over on this side too, just all kinds of activity, round shape there too. So that was back to the third, and let's just even go back maybe one more day to the second. I think we had, yeah, there's a big blast there on the second too. Full halo again, these huge blasts with objects emerging from it. The instrument's picking them up. It's reacting to these things as well. So, yeah, that was a huge blast back on the second there. So, in the last 10 days from today to the second, we've had just, this barrage of activity, multiple objects, multiple blasts, and the pace seems to be picking up. The intensity seems to be picking up. These flares and intensity seem to be picking up too. I think this latest one on the 9th was an M2, but it sure didn't look like it. It looked a lot bigger than this one right here. Looked way bigger than an M class, but whatever they call it. So yeah, here we go. Another example, like I said before, of one of these objects getting stripped away from the bigger one. And you got to remember, when you're looking at this side, the sun is the size of this white circle, not the black thing. So the sun is like this big. And if you see the volume coming off here and here, it's coming off the whole sun right there, the whole side of the sun. Not many people address these bright streaks right here, but these bright streaks seem to reach out to these objects as they approach. And then after the object, and as it pulls away, the intensity of the streak. So these almost act like bellwethers pointing in the direction of the next object or something coming in. I never see anybody on any of these other channels address these bright streaks. They're way off of the surface of the sun. Here's the sun right here. These streaks are way out here past the corona. What are they doing way out here? Why are they so strong and intense? What's causing these streaks? I don't think it's the sun. I think it's these objects as they approach. So everybody has entitled to their own opinion, but when I just like to do observation, and when I observe these objects behaving in this fashion, it's kind of obvious to me what's going on here. I don't think I'm going to trust NASA try to explain this stuff. We know we can't trust them. So anyway, there's a lot of activity. I was kind of delinquent in bringing it to you, but I figured I got a moment now, so I figured I'd bring that to you, let you guys see what's going on. I'm sure some of you may even check this instrument yourself and watch and use the techniques that I've shown you to, find your own, your own images in here and stuff too. So, but yeah, and then let's go to today real quick. Today's isn't a big blast, but it's another one. It's another object right here, going past the sun and pulling material with it. These things are too perfectly round and spherical. I'm sure some of you guys see Planet X news, and Scott over there has his new filters, the forensic filters, do an awesome job of pulling these objects forward. So if sometimes you don't see him in my thing, go over to his and check out his stuff too, because his is crystal clear. Mine aren't as clear. I got a computer with a phone recording a computer. He's got a much better get up and set up over there. So I noticed he hasn't been doing many reports lately. I know he's busy, so I'll do reports in the meantime every week or so when I get a chance, or when there's, activity worthy of reporting here. So thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed this video. And let's see, what else was I going to show you here before I wrap it up? Let's go, what was the first? I think there was activity on the first, yeah. So since the 1st of November here, we've had activity almost every day. I think maybe out of the 11 days we missed 1 or 2. But look at this activity here. Boom. Look at these little things emerge up here. See, these are huge blasts. I mean, we're supposed to be in grand solar minimum. And the moment grand solar minimum was supposed to start taking place, the sun had a mind of its own and decided to start kicking out X flares, and has been active ever since. So if something is affecting the sun and causing it not to go into its grand solar minimum, that something would have to be stronger than the sun, right? In order to affect the sun, because the sun's pretty powerful, in order to affect it, it has to be something as equally strong, if not stronger. And I believe these objects, some of their magnetic fields are ripping material off this, weakening the sun and strengthening these other objects. And as they keep coming by, keep rotating by or whatever, now we're getting close and we're peeling ones away from the bigger object and cluster or whatever we have. And we keep catching these things getting pulled away from the bigger object now. So I think the intensity's picking up, the activity's picking up, and we're seeing, side effects here on the Earth. I don't know if you guys all watch the volcanoes and everything, but there's a lot of volcanoes that are simultaneously going off. I mean, we're having huge earth changes, wild weather, tidal surges. All of that can be explained by these objects and their gravitational and magnetic fields interacting with the sun, also interacting with us. The sun dictates a lot of what goes on Earth. So when these things affect the sun affects the Earth. We live on the Earth too, and it affects us. So these little blasts and stuff that are continuing to happen, I think, are signs of, more activity to come. So I'll try to bring you more and more of it as I can as we go here, but it's not easy for me to report on this stuff. I don't like being the bearer of bad news. I've always tried to be a positive, person and stuff, and sometimes it's hard for me to bring you some of these images when they're just blatantly clear as to what's going on, and getting huge objects the size of this one on the 9th here. It gets a little unnerving here. Boom. So if we back this up just a little bit, I want to focus on this thing for just a sec and get both of them in there, because I want you to look at how this light, this plasma, is coming out and taking a different direction. It's bending, turning and bending and going over a spheroid object right here. Here you can see it again, just being and makes a hard turn and then arches. These magnetic fields and stuff are so strong that they're bending light. You can see the light bending and draping around it. I think that they're so dense that they absorb light and don't reflect light, so you can't see it with the naked eye. You couldn't see these things because they're like nature's stealth is gravity. You get gravity so strong, light can't escape it. Therefore, it can't reflect off it and you can't see it. So some of these round objects like these, I believe, are so dense that when the material comes out and drapes over them, it outlines these objects. Let's go. Boom. That was a huge blast right there. And they tried to say that that was an M2. But I can see like a conduit right here, a plasma exchange right here. This dark area is going straight into the object. The cone is bending around on the outside, going around here. And it's just, and you can see the plasma pulling off after it and streaking away. I hear all these people and their theories, oh, it's a magnetic bubble, or yeah, a magnetic bubble that's so huge like that, ones that form before they even approach the sun. So, you know, everybody's got their own opinion, and I just bring you what I see and what I think is going on here. So, other than that, that's about it for this video. I love you all, and I thank you for coming. I miss you all, and until my next video, bless you all. Bye.